welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us. Now, let's start with the Weekend Trust, which we normally do. And the major story there says, Japa, greener pastures are getting nearer. Now, this is coming, I'm sure, from the people Japa. You can see, Mario, I mean, you can see our people, behind
trying to leave the country in either hook by crook, or how did you say it?
As far as they are concerned, it's getting nearer. But it's like they're getting nearer, they can't see the end of the road. Because we can't see anything in the front.
It looks like they're trying to jet away from the country illegally.
So the thing is, recently there are a lot of, news and people coming out to talk about how people die, especially when they want to cross over to Europe and what have you. And then, they have to go through the desert,
Sahara and
and stuff. And a lot of people keep dying. And this what you're seeing is exactly what it is, because you can actually see their cars breaking under the Sahara deserts, and people are dying because of, hunger, water, and a lot of things. Some, recently there were some people that were caught and returned back to, Niger and also Nigeria, just to reunite them with their families, because, at least if they can see them and even bring them back, it's understandable. But then, people are actually tired. They just want, by all means, to see how they can actually make it, to make life easy, for them and for their loved ones. So hence the need for them to actually Japa. Because even you and I now, if we have the opportunity, I'm sure we'll Japa. But I don't want to leave my country.
I wouldn't say anything about. Nigeria is actually a sweet country, Fatima. It's a very nice place to live. You wouldn't understand until you leave for, like, let's say 2 weeks, and you cannot get the food, the warmness of the.
The truth is, if you travel out, give it or take 2 weeks, you want to come back.
Exactly.
Just 2 weeks, you start getting tired of wherever it is you are.
Yeah,
except you actually are fully prepared that you can buy to this country.
I mean, we've seen people that Japa and sent videos crying that they really want to come back, but they do not have a choice, because this is where they get their daily 2K from. Let me use that word.
Well, it's a terrible situation to see that Nigerians keep fleeing. But I keep saying back then when we always talk about people wanting to leave the country, like, don't go anywhere, just establish. Okay, if you travel, just come back home after you've made it. Come back home and establish yourself here and see how you can improve, with your expertise, whatever it is you've gone to learn. Come and improve your country so that it can be developed also.
That's it. And traveling is not a big deal, but make sure you travel legally, not illegally, the way, we've been seeing videos like people following Sahara, traveling for months before they reach their destinations. And make sure you make a very concrete plan
investigation
before leaving your country.
Definitely.
Yes. Make sure you have gotten a job there, you have gotten where to stay and what have you before leaving.
That's for those that want to leave legally.
Exactly. Yeah. Then if you want to go study, just like the president always says, come, go get the educate yourself and enlighten yourself. Then come back and put it to practice in your own country.
Yeah, because I saw a chat, with a person that actually went through the hell of the desert, the Sahara desert, and he was recounting his ordeals, like what he had to face, things he saw. He said he saw some creatures that are not that he has never seen before. So like how when they were telling him, okay, make sure you have enough water, and he didn't understand what it meant by have enough water until the journey started. And so a lot of people, how he was mentioning people, the way they bury people there, like when they die, and it's terrible. Nobody wants to see their loved ones go through that kind of, So, well, you can find details on page 4 of the Weekend Trust, and then below the belt, politicians who parted ways with benefactors. Well, you can see their pictures, and you can go through page 9 for more details. I mean, we are seeing Fubara and Wiki, and then, our president also. You can find much details on page 9. The women of Kannywood, and you can see Aisha Homera, Hadiza Kapon, Rama Sadao, and, Asma'u, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Is that Asma'u? I think so.
Looks like her.
Yeah, the face. Sorry, Samira.
Samira Ahmed?
Yes, Samira Ahmed.
Okay, that's her.
That's Samira Ahmed. Now, I'm getting her face. I actually thought it was Asmao.
Oh.
Well, you can find much details on page 29. I would love to know what happened to the women of Kannywood. Is it that they're the women that are making, waves? They're, we know them. We know how they act. Some have disappeared on the screens, but we know that they are doing well. You know, like for Samira Ahmed, I know that she's into furnitures and decorations and stuff. So definitely they're doing well. Like people like Rukaya Dawaya and the rest. So a lot of them actually. Well, you can find details on page 29. Like I said, 2 suspected robbers escaped lynching in Abuja. I mean, yesterday we saw a terrible news of, you know, this, what's it called? The people that attack
the
one chance.
3 of them.
3 of them were almost killed, but then luckily they got saved. But I don't know if they could survive what I saw. But it's really terrible, you know, because they are also hurting people. So when people get to catch them, they definitely know that they're going to face, even though they escape the jungle justice that you know we keep talking about. When you catch people, just hand them over to the authorities. Don't take actions, and you know,
in as much as jungle justice isn't that good, but people, the way they talk, they said most people do not really trust the law enforcement agencies and securities and what have you. So they rather take law in their own hands. But at the end of the day, it's a very bad one, you know. Jungle justice is not a good thing anywhere in the world. When you catch criminals, the highest you can do is to tie them up and wait for the securities to come and pick them. You understand? And they have to they will be charged to court, and they have to be guilty before they charge them or they prison them or what have you. So that video I saw yesterday, I mean, I just
hope that they are safe regardless. We know that they are causing havoc, and you know, they are menace in Abuja and other parts, because every state has their own kind of one chance. You know, for some it's maybe they're being attacked inside Napep, or you know, bikers, a lot of people. But you know, for Abuja, we all know that you can enter a taxi and you don't know who is who, and you may see people and they are all working together and stuff, so they keep robbing people like that. You
know, Fatima, you know, I think last year this what do you call it, One Chance has gone distinct for a long time, and it's back now. And according to the PRO, you know, Josephine Ade, she said now they target Muslim women. The interview that Trust TV had with her last 2 weeks, you know, she says they target the Hajias, you know, and everything. In fact, they target women entirely.
So what should they do?
They target
if
women.
They don't have means, you know.
So she says, just be careful and make sure you're very vigilant as a woman, because
I won't say it's just the Hajias that they target, because if people take...
According to her, that's what she said.
Yeah, I understand, but what I'm saying is, it shouldn't be specific to certain people, because everyone takes the... You know, public transport, it's not about whether it's Hajias or Alhajis or who, you know, so it's
you
general.
You have to be very, very careful
it's general,
and vigilant.
you know, so that's just it.
That's it.
Well, you can find details on page 18 of the Weekend Trust, and I'm a happy and active retiree. This is coming from Ambassador Bala Sani. You can find details on page 14, and then 12,000 doctors down tools as strike begins. You know, this is actually also a terrible situation right now, because when there are not doctors, patients, you know, are in dire situation that they need urgent help, you know, for doctors to check them, to make sure that they are fine, you know, before they get discharged. So imagine just having patients in the hospital without being attended to, and they are not doctors or nurses. Well, find details on page 18. Beyond the final whistle, post-football lives of Nigerian icons. I mean, I saw, you know, a lot of the former football icons, you know, coming out to say, if you remember, I think, was it Taribo West or something a while back, where he said he's not going to let his child play football for Nigerian team. I think 3 weeks or 1 month ago, we took that story, if you remember, because of how they get neglected when they saw that they were giving the women $100,000 and, you know, houses and what have you. He came out to speak, and I'm sure this is something that they didn't get during their time, even though, you know, times are different.
Of course, you cannot compare.
So you can't compare. But then looking into some of them and their lives is actually a terrible situation. You won't believe that that's the kind of life they are living right now. But you can find much details on page 38 of the Weekend Trust, and that's the much that there is.
Okay, now we go to the Guardian, Saturday Guardian, and boldly written there is why Nigerians aren't impressed. Well, revenue target claim. You know, you can get this in pages 8 to 9 of the Guardian. Right at the top, police permit for tinted windshield is unnecessary burden. Well, this is an editorial actually, and you can find this on page 12 of The Guardian. Nepal and danger of ignoring youth grievances. Inside stuff. It's right at the back page of The Guardian. Then the interview with Adejuwon. The topic is energy poverty remains root cause of deforestation. Well, if you want to read about this interview, you can go to page 10 of The Guardian newspaper. Artisans, market women and traders drum support for Adeleke, asks FG to release Osun local government funds. Well, talking about Osun 2026, you can get this in page 27. Positive test for alcohol. NSIB issues immediate safety recommendations for airpeace. We will increase frequency of our alcohol drug test, says airline. This is the news that have been making waves, pilots testing positive for alcohol, which is a very, very, honestly, ridiculous and weird one, honestly, if you ask me. Well, you can find this on page 2 of The Guardian. Don't overburden Nigerians with taxes. Bishop urges federal government. Tinubu, Sanwo-Olu, others extol doing Abiola's virtues. This news is on page 3 of The Guardian. NNPC targets vulnerable farmers to curb food crisis. Trains 6,000. This is on page 3 of The Guardian. FG hails Bielsa, Namibia sister crisis deal. Nigeria assures Angola on revived joint commission. This story is right at page 35. Suspect in Charlie Kirk's death taken into custody. This is in page 36 of The Guardian, and this is the much that there is in The Guardian newspaper today.
All right, let's quickly take a look at Saturday Punch. And on Saturday Punch, like Mariam just read, the NSIB, this is coming from the indicted airpeace co-pilot and the cabin crew, saying that NSIB lied. We don't drink alcohol and smoke marijuana. Okay. Now
this is a counter claim.
Definitely, they have to counter. They can't accept and keep quiet. Definitely. Well, the bullet. I said the rider regulator rejects smear campaign claim. Now you can find details on page 4 of the Saturday's Punch. And then Nigerians in South Africa cry out, women are giving birth on bare floors over xenophobia. Oh, this is terrible. I don't know when this is going to end, but we are all Africans. I see no reason why we should hate each other, and treat each other this way. I mean, we have a lot of people living in Nigeria, both South Africa, in fact, different parts of the country. They are here. And we also see, our brothers also from Ghana, South Africa, other parts of the country, African countries, coming to Nigeria to also, make it and live. And we don't do that to them. So why are Nigerians facing this kind of hatred, as far as I'm concerned, in South Africa? Why this xenophobic behavior? I mean, we just saw Ghana, debunking the xenophobic behavior towards Nigerians when Ghanaians came out to protest to say, oh, Nigerians should leave, crime rate has increased, this and that. But, this South African has been something that's been going on for a very long time now. And I don't know when it's going to end.
Honestly, one thing I know, in as much as we have our own problems and we have our own bad people in Nigeria, it's everywhere. One thing I have never seen or I've never heard of is a Nigerian maltreating a foreigner, be it from the other continent or in Africa. We see more of, we even feel more at home with the other Africans, but we see the South Africans every time telling Nigerians to go back home, do not come to our country, you come and you collect our jobs, blah, 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 they keep saying it all the time. And if you're not doing anything substantial there, just come back home, because that's the best. You can imagine a pregnant Nigerian giving birth on the bare floor, they don't care about you.
The cold, the treatment is actually just, it's
very inhumane.
Very inhumane.
Yeah.
It's saddening to see or hear this kind of story. But then you can find details on page 4. Neighbor who trafficked my 2-year-old daughter to Italy asked me to move on. Wow, this is coming from a Libya-based Nigerian
We were saying
woman.
wow in
Both
unison,
of us
you
at
know?
the same time, you know? Like, how can you... So the problem now is we have left what we're supposed to be doing to our neighbors, the responsibility given to each and everyone. You see me as your neighbor, I see you as my neighbor.
Yeah, my brother first before my main brother that doesn't live with me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what the religion says, you know. But then you see people, the neighbors are the ones hurting. I mean, this similar situation happened way back, you know, even in Kano, if you remember when Anissa, if I'm not mistaken, the little girl that was killed by...
That was killed by...
That was abducted by
the teacher?
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, a lot of stories like that, you know, people that you know tend to be the ones that will hurt you and do you bad the more. So this is really sad, you know, coming from the neighbor telling the mother to move on. You don't know how hard it is for a mother to lose a child. I mean, I see parents not wanting for their children to be there when they are even sick. Talk more of, you know, losing a child, or your child is alive but then you can't even see. I mean, sometime early this year, similar situation happened when a woman back in her baby, I think 2 or 3 months, was just snatched from her inside a car just around in Abuja here.
Well, that neighbor, that lady should take the neighbors. She should report her to the authorities. That's the better thing, the best she can do.
Exactly. You know, this is actually sad. But then you can find details on page 2. Resident doctors strike cripples federal hospitals. Now, you can see that. You can find details on page 9. Charlie Clerk, U.S. targets foreigners celebrating killing. Why would you celebrate killing of a person? I mean, anyway, you can find details on page 5. And then Hilda Basi, definitely, which we'll be talking about much later, you know.
It was a whole lot
of... the large pot of jollof rice, the biggest one seen ever. And it's also said, anyway, let's not give the full details. We'll talk about it later.
Talk about it later.
We already know that people have already, you know, they are aware of the situation. They know.
We'll dissect it more,
Some of them, yeah, definitely. Well, you can find much details on page 17. And then Dangote dares Nupeng and marks $18 billion refinery squanderers. Now you can, this is actually a huge one. You can find details on page 10. $18 billion, Mariam. Just give me $1 billion and I'm done.
What are you not saying? $1 billion is too much.
Well, Nepal uprising. Government supporters counter protest calls in Nigeria. Now you can find details on page 8. And then, you know, Oshun. Okay, so that's the much stories that there is for the Punch.
Right now to Saturday Vanguard. Boldly written as corruption holding down our football. Adokie Amesi Maka. You know, Fatima, you just talked about how the former football player was saying he wouldn't allow his child play for Nigeria. And again, another female athlete came out yesterday complaining about the outfit, the sportswear given to her by the Nigerian government. It wasn't of quality and the packaging was very terrible, you know, and what have you. She was complaining bitterly. Well, this is in page 16 and 17 of the Saturday Vanguard. How Nigerians spent 981.5 billion naira on 7 polls. Wow, this is a lot. Wow, you can find this on page 8. Ekiti needs a rescuer, says Kayode Ojo. This is on page 25. Drugs, sex, everything available in Nigerian prisons. According to Agbaja Lingo, you can find this on page 18. For 7 years, I sold pepper soup prepared with stolen goats at my beer joint. Wow, says the suspect. This is on page 5. This is going to be an interesting read, actually. Then right at the top is while Nigerians starve, their governments clap at jets. The godfathers who own Nigeria stop turning children into prayer warriors. There's a whole lot. You can find the story in page 14 and the continuation in page 19 of the Saturday Vanguard. 5 days to Fubara's return. ING, you know, Pandev Mossop set agenda for inconclusivity. Well, this is on page 20 of the Vanguard, and this is the much that there is in the Vanguard newspaper.
Yeah, you know, just when you talked about the football, I mean, I was just looking at the riders where it said, shocked Eagles struggling with Lesotho, Zimbabwe, Benin Republic in World Cup qualifiers. I mean, we know that definitely much later, Denny will be giving much
details on that.
Yeah, but well, we are going to also talk about it. You know what Mikel Obi also said about that later on the entertainment stories. But then here they said Nigerian medical media should make noise now about the same story. And then why I stopped writing for sport column. Now this is coming from a lot of people actually are coming out to, you know, say how they feel about the kind of treatment the football teams are getting, and you know, the drilling, the trainings. Is it even working? I mean, when last did we even take any cup except for the women that gave us the victory that we celebrated just a while back? Well, let's take a look at Saturday's Tribune this morning, and the major story there says FGSSS meet Nupeng. Dangote asks them to stop war. Now refinery to roll out 1,500 trucks on Monday. Now you can find details on page 3. Ruling houses jostle for throne of Osun Oba jailed in US. Now you can find details on page 8 and 25. Ibadan court says woman is ex-husband's tenant, orders her out of house. You can find details for those that want to know more of human angle stories. You can find details on page 12. Airpeace NSIB feud over sacked pilots. Still details on page 4. AFCFTA will unlock Oyo's prosperity. Now this is coming from Secretary General Mene. You can find details on page 3. And then Osun 2026. Artisans, market women and traders drum support for Adeleke, asks FG to release Osun local government funds. You can find details on page 3. And that's the much that there is for the Saturday Tribune. I mean, there are a lot of stories actually, and it's actually
the
interesting.
Headlines are
they're actually catchy and interesting. we keep saying this morning. So I don't know if you came to my house to go through my head to see what I'm going to be saying. Well, I'm going to catch you later for that. Well, this is the much that we can take for our newspaper reviews. Let's go on a quick break. I want to return, we'll open the phone lines and to hear from you about the 5% tax on telecom that was scrapped by the federal government.